Becquerel, who had been studying uranium salts, had noticed that they emitted special rays. Mary made it her mission to measure them and discern the conditions under which they existed. She confirmed that they were, in fact, an atomic property of uranium and that samples of thorium behaved similarly, but the rays emitted in her samples of minerals were not commensurate with the amounts of uranium and thorium she knew to be in them. Her observations led her to a theory. The ores contained trace amounts of another substance. Her observations. So this is uranium that they were dealing with, but her observations led her to a theory. The ores contained trace amounts of another substance, one more radioactive than any known element. After grueling experiments, Mary discovered that, in fact, two new substances were involved. She identified one in 1898 and named it polonium after her homeland. 5 months later, she identified the second element, which came to be known as radium. So over here, she's discovering element after element. Goodness gracious, she discovered polonium and named it polonium after Poland, her homeland. And then also she discovered radium. After 5 months, the problem then became isolating the elements. Pierre was studying crystals but found himself increasingly swept up into his wife's doctoral research. While he studied the properties of radium, Mary extracted pure radium salts. The Austrian government had disposed of tons of pitchblende, a uranium ore which Mary had obtained cheaply. In order to begin the painstaking process of purification, she had to dissolve the dusty substance in acid before chemically separating its elements, which meant transferring vast vessels of liquid and precipitate and, with an iron bar, stirring cauldron after cauldron of the substance. So she was very much a physicist as well as a chemist. A lot of this work sounds like chemistry, lab work, but also, of course, she is also a physicist. So she won the Nobel Prizes in both. Which again, I think is a feat that is only done by her, unless I'm greatly mistaken. The tasks were laborious. They left her exhausted and she fell ill with pneumonia. She extracted thousands of gallons of distilled liquid from her mounds of pitchblende, ultimately yielding amounts of radium solution that barely filled a thimble. The work wasn't glamorous, but it had been romanticized in the American press. This is not glamorous work at all. This lab work is a lot of hard work and not at all glamorous. That is what it is. Science is not glamorous. It sounds glamorous in the stories. It's very glamour-free indeed, and a lot of big hard work, labor, after which you really don't have much energy to do anything else. So it's all sounding very consistent, with all that. Readers were transfixed by the image of Pierre and Mary conducting experiments side by side in their dilapidated shed. Inside, they performed the bench work. In the adjoining yard, the bulkier transport of pitchblende. The building's windows were broken and its heating unit didn't work. Dil karta hai le jao tumhe dinner mein. Well, you can always donate to my YouTube channel in the PayPal link in bio if you're feeling bad for me. The building's windows were broken and its heating unit didn't work. At the height of their experiments, Mary logged an indoor temperature of just above freezing. They worked for hours in silence, stopping only to put on sweaters or warm themselves with cups of tea made at a rickety stove. There was one detail publicists made more of than Curie herself. Hey, love your kitty. Thank you, Stephen. Welcome to the live. We're reading about Marie Curie's work here. Welcome. Thank you for joining. There was one detail publicists made more of than Curie herself. Amid the hauling, stirring, measuring, and recording, she had, in fact, given birth to a child. Taking none of the standard precautions of modern nuclear labs, Mary fed Pierre lunch, probably laced with radioactive material. She took in harmful fumes herself, which contributed to her chronic illnesses and her frustrations with nursing. So these people were living very hazardous lives, fully immersed in their rather poisonous work, but they were extremely dedicated and doing life